Hey, yeah, what's up? This disciple Marcello Kearns reign back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-telepathy all day, and anti-America all day. Yeah, so this message is basically going to be about those who break the Constitution can no longer is not American. Anyone who breaks the Constitution is not American. They can't claim to be American. They are not American. What makes people American by nature, if you will, or by culture, is the Constitution. So for all these people who invaded my privacy, you are not American. You are not American. You are not, um, anyway, a patriot. See, the thing is what people don't understand is when people say, um, desperate time, desperate measures. This is why we're doing all this. And no, in no case do you break the Constitution under desperate times and desperate measures. I'm not trying to be American, but I'm more American than they want to be. I'm more American than they want to be because they have broken the Constitution, which means they are not American by nature and by actions and perception. So there's no FBI, there's no CIA, there's none of these people that can rise up and say um, they are Americans after you break the Constitution. What should make you, what would have made you American, is that you're able to keep the Constitution and not break the constitutional rights of people that you investigate. That makes you American. If you, by means of investigation, by means of whatever, break the Constitution, you are inadequate for your job and you are inadequate as a person of this country. So you're not American. I am more American of you than you are because I haven't broken anyone's constitutional rights. When you begin to, the most foundational reason someone is not American is when they break the constitutional rights. I don't care if they're black, I don't care if they're white, I don't care if they're whatever. If you break the constitutional rights of an American, you're not American. It's that simple. It's that simple. When if people can break the constitutional rights of people and say they're American, then anything goes. I can go and break people's rights as far as their constitutional rights in many forms and fashions, and then say I'm American, but it's not real. These laws is what make this country America. So if you break these laws, what does that make you? A violator of American freedom, which means you can't be a patriot in the same energy with that. Like I said, what makes one American is they're able to, or if they're FBI, they're CRA, whatever they are, they're able to keep the keep the constitutional rights of the people they're investigating, keep them uh, without being broken, investigate them without breaking their constitutional rights. This is what makes one. This is what makes a person a patriot. So if you have broken, if just like what they did with MLK, they were investigating MLK for no reason. This country has been non-America, what I call strange America, for decades. When they broke the constitutional rights of Martin Luther King Jr., when there was no real reason to investigate him, this began I guess you could say I wouldn't say a new world became, but America ceased to exist. What you have to understand is the significance behind Martin Luther King Jr.'s death. It wasn't just the death of a speaker. It wasn't just the death of someone that would have motivated us to the next level, although those things are very significant. It was America giving up its nature. Because this man did no wrong to the community. And they dug in his life and sent personal things which had nothing to do with bringing the people together. It had nothing to do with it didn't contradict Martin Luther King Jr.'s words. So he gave them no reason to investigate him. And when they sent tapes to his wife of him having an affair, it was totally irrelevant information, which, hey, one apple spoils the bunch. That move of sending irrelevant information to Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife was when America, it doesn't matter. You put these people in office. When you put these people in office, they can destroy your country. Let me say that again. When you put these people in office, whether it's the FBI, whether it's the president, whether it's the president, vice president, whatever, whether it's Edgar Hoover or Donald Trump, when you put these people in office, you can destroy your country. You can't say it's them when you empowered them. You empowered and put them there and then want to point your finger and say, well, that's them. No, it was a joint effort with your vote. Your vote was a joint effort of putting them there and saying that you stand with their operations. Okay? So when the government put Edgar Hoover in office, they stood with his perspective. You have to take responsibility that what he causes on your country, whether good or bad, you have to take responsibility. You can't just single him out and say, well, that's just Edgar Hoover. You empowered him. You put him there. Your government put him there. Therefore, whatever destruction comes, I'm talking about, you don't have to agree. I'm talking about what happens in the spiritual world. You don't have to agree with me. I'm telling you what happens in the spiritual world. When you have done this and you have put this person in office and they do things like what Edgar Hoover did to Martin Luther King Jr., irrelevant stuff that had nothing to do with his messages, nothing to do with a contradiction of his messages, then you have to accept that there was a fall. You have to accept that right there, your country it failed. You have to understand that because that was done and you put him in office, you put him there, and it was a joint effort. That joint effort with Edgar Hoover, by you putting him there, means his actions was attached to your government, which means that action destroyed your government. And let's put it this way. It destroyed the integrity of your government. It severed the integrity of your government, which means it is no more, because you co-signed this person, you put him in office, and you can't just single him out. You put him in power. That's your joining to his perception and his actions. So see all the people that are joined to him. You see all the people that are actually joined to that action, which broke Martin Luther King Jr.'s constitutional rights. You were joined to that. I'm showing you where you fail. You already failed in the spiritual world. I don't care what you say about the tangible world. In the spiritual world, when Martin Luther King Jr. was conspired against by a person that you put in power, a person that you co-signed per se, when you did that, that was the end of America. Oh, you don't believe it, do you? I'm gonna show you how. God 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 has spiritual courts that America has not been aware of. Oh yeah, I'm not subject to your courts. I'm not subject to your people. Let them try to do something to me and see what happened to these little crazy people. All of them. Every color, race, creed. That's why I'm still here. What you did to Martin, when Edgar Hoover, one of your leaders, this is a leader, he was the leader of the FBI. That is a leader in America. This is not just some guy sitting behind a desk like you want to make him to be. This was a leader in your country that struck against the highest leader to bring freedom in this country. I'm showing you where your end was at, just in case you think it just happened. It just happened with COVID. Your end was with the conspiracy in the spiritual world against Martin Luther King Jr. Yes. Because and just from that one action of, first, foundationally, I would say, of sending tapes to his wife of an affair, that's totally irrelevant situation. You're trying to destroy the character of a person that's trying to bring freedom and bring everybody together. That was the only purpose. There was no other purpose in that situation. You didn't take it to the law, you took it to his wife. You think these are little things, but that was not a little person. Let me say that again. You think that was a little thing, but that was not a little person, just like me. You always make these mistakes. You think that we're little people, and then you have big problems. It's just how it is. So when you mess with Martin Luther King Jr., when you did that, you broke his constitutional rights. You can't say you're American. You're assaulting our intelligence by saying that, he was some type of national threat. A lot of people don't know this, but he was put on a national security list, like a national threat list, a couple days, 2 or 3 days after he did the I Have a Dream speech. So he was put on a national threat list for trying to have a dream, talking about having a dream for all people to come together. Do you see any terrorism in that? I don't care if it's racist people. I don't care. Racist people made your country die. Okay? You get it? Good. Well, that's how it used to be. Well, how it used to be is why you're not going to be. Why it used to be when you had plenty of time to get it together. I'm showing you your fall because you thought you got away with it. All of that you did, look at the country since Martin Luther King Jr. died. You thought you got away with it. Look at the country. You didn't get away with it. God did not allow you to get away with it. You think you did. You didn't. And I would dare to say the only reason you still survived as long as you did was because God wanted to give the Africans here a chance to survive, and then they denied it, and now it's all over. You understand? It didn't continue because you was a good old white guy that know how to put things together. No disrespect to white people, but this is to the right racist white people. It wasn't because of your white skin that your country was together. It was because of the mercy of God on Africans. That's what I believe. It wasn't because of you, with you being racist. So God let you continue because you racist as they come. You did all this stuff and you've been doing all this stuff all along. You were only allowed as a country to survive for the mercy on the oppressed, so that the oppressed would not die like dogs. So see, here we are. The oppressed are not dying like dogs. We are now seeing you being defeated. We are now seeing your country be destroyed in everything. It's all here. And look who happened to bring the center of attention. A man that is of African descent. It's all a part of a plan. But what the revenge and the retaliation is for Martin Luther King Jr.'s life. I know black people, you're desensitized to Martin Luther King Jr. as a figure. Yes, you are. You're desensitized to him as a figure. You're desensitized to what happened to him. You're desensitized about what your government did to him. You desensitized. Like in other countries, they hold grudges until the enemy is dead for killing somebody like that. If they had a Martin Luther King Jr. that died as a hero like he died, they would be at war until the enemy was dead. But that's okay. We didn't need your help. We didn't need these spineless Americans' help. God handled it. So I say all that this is the prime example of breaking the constitutional rights. This is the foundation. I'm gonna say this is the paramount of breaking constitutional rights of an American. Martin Luther King Jr. doing nothing but trying to do good, doing no evil, doing nothing, and he got a government against him like he's a mass murderer. Okay? So you didn't think anything was gonna happen. And now it's here, it's time, and there's nothing you can do about it. You broke constitutional rights of America to your severity. You're severed as a country. You're done. You contradicted and broke the constitutions to the point where you can no longer go back to the nature of the Constitution. You can't go back to the nature of the Constitution after you've done what you've done. After you played the games that you played with me, you can't go back and say, well, we're going to abide by the Constitution. Doesn't work like that. Not in the spiritual world. Once those laws you put are in the spiritual world, you didn't know that, did you? God looks at every law that you do and you have. He looks at them and they become energy before God. So when you go and you switch up on the energy, the laws of the energy of the laws that you got in the spiritual world, you can't go back under that energy of those laws. You can't go back. I'm sorry, you're stuck over there. You're stuck over there doing evil. You're stuck over there doing crazy investigations. And it doesn't matter what portion of America it is. I've already showed you where the FBI made the mistake. So if you want to say, well, this is just the Illuminati, no, it was the FBI. The FBI is the one that caused your fall. I'm showing you where you are foundationally already doomed. Besides me, because everybody want to point their finger. Well, that's not us, that's this group. But you are allowing it. You are co-signing it, just like the government co-signed Edgar Hoover. And then they want to sit back and point and say, well, it was Edgar Hoover. The Illuminati is your Edgar Hoover. You want to sit up and shift the blame and say it's not your nature, not you, but you are allowing something to be. You are allowing this group to be. Okay? And especially if they struck at a person first, then it's your responsibility to handle your citizens, or God's going to handle everybody. You didn't handle your citizens, so God had to handle everybody. Okay? You were excited about the game, and the game didn't work for you. Although they keep trying to downgrade COVID. COVID is your end, man. COVID is your end. You in denial. COVID is your end. You broke the constitutional rights of Americans, great Americans. Malcolm X too. You broke his rights. These people were high-ranking people that gave hope to the people. I'll say that again. These were high-ranking people that gave hope to the people. You may see it as just another minority, but in the realm of the spirit, Martin Luther King Jr. was a person that influenced and helped millions. Now you see where I'm going with this. So when you destroyed that, and when your government broke his constitutional rights, and that man influenced millions, it was over. You've been over since the conspiracy of Martin Luther King Jr., which the American government, for all of y'all that don't know, the American government settled out of court in 1999 for conspiring against Martin Luther King Jr. The American government doesn't just cop out and say, yeah, we did it, and they didn't do it. They came to court with Martin Luther King Jr.'s family for conspiring against Martin Luther King Jr. Now you're desensitized because you think you got it made. You don't got it made. This country's about to hit the fan. So you want to stand with daddy. You want to stand where it's safe. You try to act like you desensitized to it because you think you're gonna die if you resist. You're already dead through COVID anyway. You might as well rebel. You already dead. How you gonna come out of this when it comes from different countries and keeps coming here? That part, boom. 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 How you gonna come out of it? You can clean up 1,000,000 times, but it's coming from different countries. So you might as well live with the truth. Is that your country has been dead since the conspiracies of Martin Luther King Jr. When they conspired against him, like I said, that ended everything. You looked at it as simple. Nothing. Your government, your American government, settled out of court with his family, only gave his family $100. They gave Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s family $100 when this country was already making millions and millions of dollars. This country was handling billions and trillions of dollars, and they killed the greatest leader in this country, conspired against him. Not conspired for him to have life. What do you think they was conspiring for? Put it together. Conspiring for his well-being? Okay. An investigation is different from conspiracy. Investigation and conspiracies are not the same thing. They were not investigating They settled out of court for conspiring, not investigating. Those are two different terms with two different energies, two different definitions, two different animals. Okay? They conspired against a Martin Luther King Jr. I don't care if it was racist people. I'm showing you why they're dead. They had a chance after slavery to get it together. Then God, excuse me, then God raised up a Martin Luther King Jr. that wanted everyone to come together, and they killed him, and that was the end. Yeah, you should have known that. Look at his messages. He was very high ranking. He was very high ranking. You think nothing was going to happen? It was the end. It was the end in the spiritual world. Okay? Was he a perfect man? No man's perfect. But the retaliation for why they did it still happened. They didn't do it because he was an imperfect person. They did it because he was trying to bring change. They didn't do it because he was an evil person. They did it because he was a good person. And for that reason, America ceased to exist. They broke the Constitution, and they showed the whole country and the nation in 1999 that they were guilty of conspiring against him. You act like this is old news. I'll come back with part 2 on this.